Did you ever think about the seasons and the season that you're going through, or the season that in your life? I'm constantly thinking about the different seasons and why things are going on in my life. And when I think about the seasons, though, that I specifically start thinking about like spring, summer, autumn, and winter, right? But what I wanted to talk to you about is not the weather. I wanted to talk to you about the seasons of your life. See, my wife points out every time a season changes. Like when we turn to fall and the leaves begin to fall off the trees or they change colors, she notices these things, and she notices every single detail. When the simple fact is that what I notice is that it's more work. 90% of my neighbor's leaves are in my yard and not his, and it's frustrating to me. But what we have to realize is that there are 4 specific divisions in life, and so are the seasons in our lives. And it's Ecclesiastes that says, for everything there's a season. There's a time for activity under heaven. And that's basically meaning that everything has its own time. Now, if you're like me, one of the things that frustrates me is that when this scripture is someone's go-to scripture, when we tell them how much we're going through something and this is their go-to scripture, it frustrates me. And honestly, if you want to know the truth, this specific scripture is misquoted. It's misquoted quite a bit, but that's a talk for another day, and we'll cover that some other time. See, it's very important to know what season you're in. And I was walking this morning, I was walking my dog, and I noticed that the leaves from the trees had begun to fall and cover the ground. There was not an area that I couldn't step where there wasn't a leaf. And so that made me start thinking about the different seasons. And I started to think specifically about bamboo trees. See, I don't know if you know this, but there's a flowering and a seasoning time for bamboo, and the blooming process for bamboo can be very long. And I began to think about that time and length of the seasons that some of us have been going through, and even we're going through right now. And it's in some cases that the process of a bamboo tree can be over like 40 to 60 years, and sometimes even 120 years. And that's crazy. Now, you have to realize that what seemed to be, not there, all of a sudden was. Now, that's a season. That's a time to wait. Now, what I really find interesting, though, is that the bamboo, the clock of the cells in the bamboo has been orchestrated to understand and to know the time. So I began to think about the cells and the time clock that resides in us, and how God designed each and every one of us uniquely. Yet the thing is that a lot of times we as people are impatient, or we give up too quickly because of the time. And a lot of times the problem is that we don't know the language or the season that we're living in, that we don't know the timing of the season that we're in. And it's because we live in this microwave society where we have to have everything right now, where we live in that must-have now mentality, that we miss the seasons and we don't understand. I remember my grandmother always saying to me that the blessing is right around the corner, and little did I know or understand at that time. But the problem is that we quit before we see the manifestation of any blessing. See, a lot of us think that we have been buried when instead we've actually been planted. And during that planting, the truth is that seeds have been planted, but they need time, and they must wait patiently to see the ripened fruits. But that doesn't happen. We give up and we miss the blessing. See, because the seed has been planted, we must give it a chance to marinate. But because of our impatience, a malfunction takes place. See, that made me think about a good steak. See, I like a good steak, but it has to be done right, and it has to be marinated the right length of time. It has to be grilled just right on the grill for the right amount of time. And it is in any of these things that don't take place that it ruins the moment. It messes up the steak. See, God is trying to serve us this fine steak, while our impatient nature is causing us to settle for a McDonald's Big Mac. See, the season has a reason. Marination has a reason. And so patience is key. See, your impatience and not knowing the language of your season can cause a huge disaster. And we need to know the time and season. It's time to be focused and to pay attention, because if we're not, you'll miss the mark. So what I'm saying to you today is don't give up. He has a plan. He set it in motion. So I'm telling you, wait, be patient, because wisdom is developed in the lives of those who are patient, that wait, and have capitalized on their pain in order to draw a conclusion. So ladies and gentlemen, fam, be patient, and you will realize that what you thought was buried and taking too long was actually being planted and marinated and prepared for you. God bless. This is PD, and I'm out.